Whoa, okay. So you really sent me down a rabbit hole with these articles. Wow.
Yeah.
Today we are taking a deep dive into the Adani Group. You know that Indian conglomerate
Oh,
with a
yeah.
stake in pretty much everything? Ports, power plants, like you name it.
Right.
And let me tell you, things are getting intense for its chairman, Gautam Adani.
Yeah, it's certainly a high-stakes situation.
Yeah.
Adani is a figure of immense wealth and influence.
Right.
He's now facing some serious accusations that could have some pretty far-reaching consequences.
Absolutely. We're talking indictments in U.S. federal court, accusations of bribery and fraud misleading investors. It's a whirlwind of allegations.
Yeah.
You've got to wonder, what does this mean for a company that was seemingly unstoppable?
The U.S. Attorney's Office is painting a picture of a very carefully orchestrated scheme, one that allegedly saw Adani bribing Indian officials
Oh, wow.
to secure those very lucrative solar energy contracts. And they're claiming he was willing to compromise the integrity of the financial markets to boost his own fortune.
It's especially interesting because you sent over an article highlighting Adani Green Energy,
Yeah.
the company right at the center of this solar scandal. Apparently, they had to cancel a $600 million bond sale,
Right?
and their share price has dropped by almost 15% in just a few days. That's a huge hit.
That's right. And we're also seeing the Securities and Exchange Commission launching a civil case against Adani Green Energy,
Wow.
claiming they misled investors about their anti-bribery practices. All of this creates a ripple effect, impacting not just Adani Green Energy, but the entire Adani Group.
And it's not just investors who are taking notice. You also included a piece about GQG Partners, a major backer of Adani.
Yeah.
And their shares plummeted as well. That's got to sting.
It really speaks volumes about the interconnectedness of global finance. This isn't just a local issue.
Right.
It's impacting investor confidence worldwide.
This reminds me of that Hindenburg research report you flagged from last year.
Right.
It accused the Adani Group of stock manipulation and accounting fraud. While Adani denied those allegations, it still resulted in a massive market sell-off. It seems like these new charges are bringing those old concerns back to the forefront.
Absolutely. It's almost as if those accusations set the stage for what we're seeing now. What's fascinating here is that some of the details emerging from this current indictment seem to echo the claims made in the Hindenburg report.
Okay, so we've got accusations of bribery fraud and this lingering cloud of suspicion from past allegations.
Right.
It's clear this isn't just a minor financial hiccup. This is a major blow to the Adani Group's reputation.
Yeah.
But where does that leave them? What happens next?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Right.
The legal battle is just beginning, and the potential consequences are enormous.
Yeah.
For Adani, the stakes couldn't be higher. This could mean facing extradition to the U.S.
Wow.
And the impact on India's renewable energy sector, which Adani was so heavily invested in, is still unfolding.
And let's not forget the political angle. You included a piece about Adani's close relationship with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and how opposition politicians have long questioned the nature of their connection. It's hard to ignore the potential political fallout from all of this.
Indeed. This case has brought the intersection of business and politics into sharp focus. The allegations against Adani raise important questions about influence, transparency, and accountability. And the scrutiny on his relationship with Modi is only going to intensify as this story develops.
It feels like we're standing at the edge of a cliff watching this massive story unfold.
Yeah.
And the consequences are potentially huge. But before we jump into those, I want to take a step back and really dig into the specifics of this solar scandal.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
Let's delve into the details of the alleged bribery scheme and examine how Adani Green Energy became the epicenter of this storm. So the heart of this solar scandal, as we've touched on, lies with Adani Green Energy.
Right.
They were positioned as a major player in India's, ambitious push towards renewable energy,
Yeah.
even boasting about their growth with goodness slogan. Now, the U.S. attorney is alleging they used a complex web of bribes to manipulate the system.
Yeah. One of the articles you shared goes into how they were allegedly pressuring state-run electricity distributors to buy Adani Green Energy's solar power.
Right.
Even when it wasn't the most cost-effective option, it seems like they were trying to corner the market,
Yeah.
using their influence to secure those billion-dollar contracts.
It's a classic case of potential overreach.
Yeah.
The allegations suggest that Adani Green Energy was so focused on dominating the solar market that they may have crossed ethical and legal lines to achieve their goals.
And what's really interesting is that this isn't just about Adani Green Energy, right? The whole Adani Group is feeling the heat. The article from Bloomberg you sent shows that shares of all their companies have plummeted, wiping out billions of dollars in market value.
Precisely. Investors are clearly spooked, and rightfully so. This scandal throws into question the entire Adani Group's corporate governance practices.
Right.
Even if the accusations against Adani Green Energy are isolated, the damage to the group's reputation is undeniable.
It makes you wonder about the long-term consequences for India's renewable energy sector.
Yeah.
Adani was such a dominant force, and now, with this cloud of uncertainty hanging over them,
Right.
will investors be hesitant to back other projects?
Uh-huh.
Will India's ambitious climate goals be put on hold?
That's a crucial question, and it's one that experts are grappling with right now.
Yeah.
This situation has the potential to create a chilling effect on investment in India's renewable energy sector, especially for large-scale projects.
Yeah.
It could also give an edge to Adani's competitors who haven't been touched by this scandal.
So while this scandal is a major setback for Adani, it might inadvertently create opportunities for others in the renewable energy space. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But going back to the legal side of things, what are the chances that Adani will actually be extradited to the U.S. to face these charges?
That's a complex issue, and there's no easy answer. Extradition treaties between India and the U.S. exist, but they're often subject to lengthy legal battles and political maneuvering. There's no guarantee that Adani will ever step foot in a U.S. courtroom.
So it sounds like this could drag on for years,
Right.
leaving a lot of unanswered questions hanging in the balance.
It's a waiting game at this point.
Yeah.
And while the legal process unfolds, we need to pay close attention to a few key things.
Okay.
First, any developments in the U.S. court case itself. Will Adani challenge the charges? Will he attempt to negotiate a settlement?
Right.
These actions will tell us a lot about his legal strategy.
Right. It'll give us a glimpse into how he plans to fight this. But what about the response from India's government and regulatory bodies?
Yeah,
Surely they'll have to take some action, right?
absolutely. It'll be crucial to watch for any signs of investigations or new regulations aimed at addressing concerns about corruption within the energy sector. The government's response, or lack thereof, will be very telling.
And then there's the question of Adani's business partners and investors.
Right.
Will they continue to support him, or will they start distancing themselves from the Adani Group to protect their own interests?
That's another key indicator to watch. If major investors start pulling out, it could spell disaster for the Adani Group's future. This scandal has created a climate of uncertainty and distrust, and everyone is watching to see who makes the first move.
This deep dive has been a roller coaster, from accusations of bribery and fraud to the potential impact on India's energy future. This story has so many layers, it's hard to even grasp the scale of it all.
You're right, this is a story with global implications. What started as an investigation into Adani Green Energy has spiraled into a major international scandal, shining a spotlight on the practices of powerful corporations and their connections to political figures.
And it's forcing us to confront some uncomfortable truths about corporate accountability, the influence of money in politics, and the complexities of sustainable development. It's a story that raises more questions than it answers. But one thing is for sure, we're not done with this conversation yet.
I agree. And as we continue to follow this story, it's vital to remember that this isn't just about one company or one individual.
Right.
It's a reflection of a much larger system. And the outcome of this case could have profound implications for how we view corporate responsibility and global governance.
It's a stark reminder that power and influence come with responsibilities.
Yeah.
And those who wield it must be held accountable. This deep dive has been incredibly insightful, and I'm sure you're feeling the same way.
Absolutely. And I hope you're finding this exploration as thought-provoking as I am. This is a case that demands our attention. And the choices made in the coming months will have a lasting impact on the future of India and beyond.
It's almost mind-boggling when you think about it. This entire situation started with allegations against Adani Green Energy, and now it's snowballed into this massive scandal with global implications. It really underscores how interconnected our world is, especially when it comes to finance and energy.
It really does. It's a prime example of how a single event can trigger this cascade of consequences, impacting everything from investor confidence to a nation's energy strategy. And it really raises some fundamental questions about, the balance of power between corporations, governments, and individuals.
One of the articles you sent mentioned that Adani had positioned himself as this champion of sustainable growth, even adopting that slogan, growth with goodness. It's quite ironic considering the accusations he's facing now.
It certainly throws a wrench into the narrative Adani had so carefully constructed. This dissonance between his public image and the allegations against him raises questions about the true motivations behind these corporate sustainability initiatives. Are they genuinely driven by a desire to make a positive impact, or are they simply a tool to, attract investors and boost profits?
It's a tough question and one that resonates with a lot of people, I think. It makes you wonder how much trust we can place in these grand promises of ethical and sustainable business practices.
Yeah, it really highlights the need for greater transparency and accountability. Investors and the public are increasingly demanding that corporations walk the walk, not just talk the talk. When it comes to environmental and social responsibility, this case could be a catalyst for increased scrutiny of corporate practices, particularly in sectors like renewable energy where the stakes are so high.
It's almost like a test case for corporate accountability on a global scale. The world is watching to see how India handles this situation, and the outcome could have a ripple effect on how corporations operate and are held accountable, not just in India, but around the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The implications extend far beyond Adani himself. This case could shape investor confidence, influence India's reputation on the global stage, and even impact the fight against corruption. It's a defining moment, and the choices made in the coming months will have a lasting impact.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive, and I'm sure you're feeling overwhelmed with information right now. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. As this story continues to unfold, it's more important than ever to be discerning consumers of information. There will be a lot of noise, a lot of opinions, and potentially a lot of misinformation swirling around. Remember to be critical of what you read and hear, consider multiple perspectives, and draw your own conclusions.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. Don't simply accept the narrative that's being presented. Dig deeper, ask questions, and form your own informed opinion.
Absolutely. This case is a complex web of accusations, implications, and potential consequences, and it's a story that's far from over. We'll continue to follow it closely, and hopefully through these deep dives, we can help you navigate this intricate landscape and make sense of it all.
I completely agree. It's a story that demands our attention, and through informed discussion and critical thinking, we can collectively work towards a more transparent and accountable future. If you enjoy our daily news podcast and want to stay updated, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell for notifications. Your support really helps us bring you the latest news every day. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.